Good morning. I have a brief morning message because I woke up in channel. It happens more and more, especially when we're at new moons and full moons. I'll wake up with messages, and the message that I woke up with today was about the fall of the American dynasty, if you want to call it that, but how maybe 50 years from now, 100 years from now, there's a chunk of time that will be known kind of as the fall of the American dynasty. Now, there's a lot of things happening in the world that are beyond nationalism. Something that I saw this morning, which irks me, was this advertisement by the Wall Street Journal, and it was all about the secret war games that Russia has always been developing. And if you think about it, Russia's always been the boogeyman for American people. For decades, there's always been a Russian narrative, Russian spies, people having something to fear. Putin is this big bad global pawn, but when it comes to what pulls the strings in the games of war really around the world, and it's part of one current, right? So the American people have been targeted to become very tunnel visioned and complacent because we have a lot of sway. But it's not just America. But anyway, it's going to be the disassembly of some American things that create the way for new things that are going to help humanity basically exit this type of matrix reality wherein people are not understanding their multidimensional nature. And so thinking about that, I'm if you were to say to a handful of men in America that it's the beginning of we're in the midst of the fall of America as it's been known. It's an empire, right? Every good empire must fall. That's why Rome is trending in all the memes and everything. It's much more than that. There's a lot of theories around ancient Greece, Rome. These societies were basically extraterrestrial experiments. And I kind of believe that modern America could be considered something of the same. But again, it's I see pizza dough, okay, stretching, or you could see stalactites and stalagmites growing together and growing down to meet. There is different levels to this that make it incomprehensible to the 3D mind if you're only sitting in the logic that is available at that level, because there's the upper level that's hidden from the people, and then people like myself, people who are in channel, the Galactic Federation that's basically been in partnership with world forces. There are humans on Earth who look at ETs in the face each day at their job. That's just a thing. They're in different bases and stuff in collaboration. And so back to the men, right? If toxic masculinity, I don't really love that because it's so accusatory, but thinking about how the American man has been designed, it's all about, it's changing. But thinking about, if you said that, what a man would fear, right? He would probably think about his family and finances and home and a threat to his safety, but then the safety of the people that he's responsible for as an extension of that, because that's a masculine characteristic. And so people would rebel against that because it's I can't. It's you see everything that we have had in American culture as the thing that's been able to afford you any type of success, because it's the land of the free. I think about New Hampshire's license plate, which I always thought it was funny. The license plate slogan, it says live free or die. I think it's kind of intense. So excuse me, at a peace summit in 2009, the Dalai Lama said, "It is the Western woman, the North American woman." Get over it. Everybody can get over it. I'm sorry. I think that women are uniquely positioned in America. It makes me think of a teacher who works at a really poorly funded public school with a lot of corruption, where the children are not receiving good care and treatment around a bunch of stuff, there's a lot of issues with the public schooling system nationwide, but the teacher is good at heart and stays in the school system because he wants to change the system from the inside out. And even though that's all they have their control over, what they do and and it's hard to stay in it, they do it because it has an impact, and they know that the kids that they do get to help are going to remember that. And I think about going to other countries and how, like, when I'm not in America, I have better dreams. I have better, like, quality of sleep. Like, everything's better. There's a lot of things that people who never leave America don't know are affecting them. Even more than that, it takes a while to almost detox from certain American things that we're plugged into. So basically, like, in a nutshell, I'm thinking about the way that there will be power structures, and, like, you know, this is a long burn here, but just thinking about how the safety of the people is going to be the thing that gets leveraged, because that is what the unhealed male ego is going to respond to first and foremost, and all people. But if you're unsafe, then you are required to do something to fix that. And I just want people to remember that it's not you and your family and your body and your finances and your house and all of that that's unsafe. That's what's been unsafe, the way that the world has been. Gonna talk about this more in my American Dream breakdown, deep dive on the website when I get to that. It's just that people attach themselves to the fact that this is, you know, a great country, when we're really unwell. It is the sickest country for so many reasons, and I think that sums it up about what I woke up with today. Yeah, I mean, last thought is, like, just back to polarity correction and masculine and feminine energy. It is the macro and the micro again, like the egotistical threat to larger powers is the threat that's going to start to break down some of the things within the individuals, because they see themselves as being, like, the conditioning that has made people live their lives so that it would be a threat if certain things went away is the conditioning that people have to deprogram from, that will allow them to realize that they are not linked, you know, and their success and safety is not linked to this thing. What else? Yeah, okay, I also saw a video. I might go through this rant and try to edit it down and make it postable, but I don't know if it is. Oh no, I forgot my glasses. It's okay. Happens sometimes. Saw a video. Maggie Rogers is a young recording artist who's very gifted, and I like her music. Songs like Alaska and Light On, or That's Where I Am. Those are all great songs. But as with many young celebrities, there's, like, this period of changing through the industry where they kind of sell out a little bit, and I just, like, am so disheartened to have seen this clip of her on stage doing this little freak show routine with Madonna, and the caption on the Instagram post was like, "Mother calls," and it's like, mother of demons. Madonna's on one. Madonna's freaky lately. I mean, don't get me wrong, Madonna of the 80s, the 90s, the early 2000s, I love it. I mean, there's a reason why we love so many of the people who have been in the game for the longest, but it had me on the biggest rant, just talking about how there's so many levels to get into with that. Like Madonna being somebody who's been in the industry for a very long time. She's like a kingpin for some of the stuff that's upheld. And I mean, Beyonce's like that. As far as, like, the Y2K beginning and how she was groomed from a young age, and then, like, contractually bound to Jay-Z, and then they started running their kingdom. That's why, like, before they go on stage, Jay-Z and Beyonce will be standing there, and he's like, "Let's go get him, B." They really mean that. They're coming for you. Oh, I'm joking, okay? As a disclaimer on this video, I'm an artist. I don't know how to navigate parameters of what's okay and not violating community safety. I'm a theorist who's supposing things, okay? Believe whatever you want. Please do your own research about all nature of events. But I think I will post something like that because I had a lot to say about it. And it had me thinking about my own life as far as Saturn return, the past few years for me, turning 30 this year, 27 years old to 30 years old, and then later in your life you go through your Saturn returns, which are like these huge reckonings of purpose and stuff. I mean, I could like just do a little side-by-side comparison of what I have reworked within my like purposing career. I mean, during my Saturn return, it's been major, and I believe it always is for every human. It facilitates some pretty deep changes. If you think about it, when the planets and astrology and cycles and circuits and unwindings, it's like something that's like a time bomb that unwinds within you. You go through your Saturn return. That, I believe, is why celebrities, the 27 Club, and sort of like contractually honoring things that there's a ritualistic nature to being part of things. I mean, I think about weird stuff we had to do when I was in a sorority, just like holding candles, standing in the basement, saying these, not like, reading things from texts, rituals. There is that element within the people of the world stage, and I think it has to do with Saturn return. That's why we see people like Doja Cat, after she had a bunch of attention last fall and winter. I mean, there was a few things. She's been doing a few back-to-back things, but then she went on this rant, and I posted a clip of it in a video a while back, but she was basically like insulting her fans, and they were like, "You've changed, Doja, what's wrong?" And she was like, "You guys are all stupid, don't listen to my music." It's very strange to me, because it kind of seems like, I mean, like the Weekend clip again, where it's just like, oh, and yeah, in the Maggie Rogers rant that I did, I was also talking about like people like Emma Watson, because we have these, it's like the same thing around marketing, where there's like 50 things of dog food, and you're like, I have choice, I'm a free person, I can buy whichever one I want, whichever one's best for me and my doggy. No, they're kind of all the same, right? And we think about the monopolies behind the industrial agriculture and body products and all the other webs. They really do kind of come from the same source when you start to boil it down. The illusion of choice, all these different kinds of people in the celebrity web, but I think at a certain level, regardless of how much they choose to abstain from certain more like deranged things that are part of like the elite club of society, you have people who are like Danielle Bregoli, the Catch Me Outside girl. There's interviews with her, and she's like, yeah, I was sitting around with David Spade, and we sacrificed some chickens, and we were at the Illuminati meeting. She's just like running her mouth, and there's different levels of intelligence within the way that people, like, that's why I like The Weeknd. Kind of a weird dude, but he's a genius with his artistry, and it's dark, but it's all about, I could do a dive on a bunch of different celebrities and the way that they remain artists, even within their like contractual stuff. But when it comes down to the symbols of it all and what unites the club, Emma Watson, like, she can work with the UN and have gone to Brown and be like this radiant, upstanding, not as racy as the others, role model type woman, but she still has posed for the photos repping the gang signs, if you want to say that. So yeah, curtains of illusion and like delineation within something that's really not separate. What else? Is that it? Yes, that's it, because I'll do what I always do to myself in the mornings, and I'll get all worked up, and then I won't be able to converse like a normal human. This bumper sticker in front of me, it says, "Will you shut up, man?" It's talking to me. Yes, I can. Oftentimes the answer is no, but today I can take a breather. Everybody enjoy your day. What else? In the way of wellness and like mindfulness around the energy shifts right now, I've been moved to like specifically target beverages, like almost like Pedialyte, like a hangover supplement, but I'm not hungover. I just need electrolytes. I feel like there's a lot of third eye activity, which could be creating some type of like pressure in the sinuses or drainage through the nose area. I had a ton of third eye pressure yesterday. All right, be well. Okay, I stopped talking, but then I got my conclusory message. So it's basically, there's this idea where like through the next 4 to 5 years, it is the men who can successfully start to realize that they need to be able to somehow start to reparent their inner child and access the feminine energy that lives within them. And a lot of men don't know how to do that. A lot of men don't know how to do that because that's not what's taught with men. It's not respectable. But there's a lot of masculine healing within like toxic masculinity. For example, we talk a lot with toxic masculinity about how it affects things like business, right? How men act like in a workplace with the ego being like oversaturated, or abusive relationships that are like heterosexual, but like we don't talk about things like, think about the military. Think about how much sexual misconduct goes down in the military. There's a lot of men who would identify as heterosexual who have been raped or abused or assaulted by like their uppers, you know, the higher uppers in the like in their troop. I don't even know what the right words are. That's very common. Just like in prison, there's a lot of men who are abused by other men, but those men don't talk about that. I would like to talk to those men, right? Those are the men. It's like there are certain people that there's a lot of stuff that we don't talk about as people. And then why do we not, right? Those are the men. That's like, I just, you think about that being like, they can't talk about that. That's so shameful. I think I watched a documentary on this a while back or something. And there was a survivor of some type of abuse when he was in the military and he was talking about it. So maybe that's why this is coming back up into my mind, but it's like, when you think about the reality of that and like really walk your mind through it, there's like a strength. A lot of men would see that situation like, oh, well, you did something wrong. Why didn't you fight back? You know, I've had an experience where I was, I'm not going to go into details about it right now, but basically something happened to me and somebody asked me, why didn't you fight back? Because my entire body was in shock and my nervous system like shut down and I couldn't move. Sometimes that happens, right? And men may not understand that because they may not have ever been threatened in a way that makes them go into that mode, you know? But women are more likely to have been in a situation that happens to them too. Or men might have had that when they were a child, right? But then they become a certain way so that they don't have that again. It would be very hard for a man to come forward and talk about an experience of that like level of abuse. And the flip side of it is that it would create this like deep understanding within a community of men around like what it means to be strong and, you know, honest. It's like large collectives of men pushing the same things away all at the same time. And it's like this, again, with contingencies from my video yesterday with the flaps of the cardboard box. I think the more that people can soften into the truth of how wrong things are and the ways that they're wrong and start to remove like the personal, like see things more. This is the benefit of having an interconnected lens on everything, because you are very much a product of what you're plugged into. And it's like, a lot of people, especially in America, don't want to realize what they're plugged into because they think that it means that they've done things wrong, or that, you know, and it's more or less this collective, like, at this point, the wrong thing, in my opinion, would be to try to ignore that, right? And again, I see this analogy around like the Titanic and like clamoring to which side that you want to be on while it's sinking. The whole thing's still going down. Okay, and then I got a message last night. I'll just share this really quickly. About hormones and stuff. I really believe that there's this narrative that you might start to see more things about like, who knows, celebrities successfully doing like rounds of IVF, inspiring women in the masses to do that, you know, if they haven't been able to conceive, or, you know, just more stuff around like birth control, or who knows, there might be like some like news things coming out over the next 6 months around like hormonal stuff with like transitioning in the trans community, or like what implications of that, you know, because there's a lot of different layers to the warfare that is going on. And the hormonal part of it is a big deal. I guess I'll just wrap this up. Okay, well, I'll share this. As somebody who was on birth control back-to-back, hormonal birth control back-to-back for like 10 years and then removed it, I have a natural period cycle now, and I use it to understand my feminine intuition. It's a guide, it's a compass, it's designed the way it's supposed to be. When you're not in sync with your cycle, you're not as in touch with your intuition. And I was put on birth control pretty young, in my teens, and then becoming through that era of like teen into 20s of like for young women, that's pretty crucial, that time. And so I underwent that transition in my life. Being disconnected, I didn't bleed, right? There are certain kinds of birth controls where you don't get a period. Your menstrual cycle, you're always on your menstrual cycle because it's the whole cycle. The period is the only part of the cycle. It's one of 4 phases, right? Or 5, I don't know how many there are. But I didn't have that. And when it came back, I will tell you, it was like, it takes a few months for a woman's period to come back if you stop a treatment of some kind, because everything has to stabilize out again. It took probably 8 months or 10 months or 4 months or 5 months. I don't remember. But when I finally got my period, I was standing on a bridge in Paris with my mom looking at the full moon. And I hadn't gotten a bleeding period in 10 years, and I got it underneath the full moon in front of the Eiffel Tower. And I was like, thank the heavens, this is the most magical thing that's ever happened to me. And then it was perfectly on sync with the full moon for 6 months, and then it migrated to the new moon, where it has remained, essentially. And I was like, I am aligned with all of the feminine forces in the universe. Like, it just rocked me to my core, because I was like, my body's been like waiting to get back on this schedule. I don't know, it was some strange like reinitiation back into my uninterrupted womanhood. I was like, Mom, guess what? So the hormone thing, that's one level of warfare, and it has to do with a lot of different things, fertility, but also brain chemistry. So those are my outlandish thoughts of the day. Email me if you have questions, and I hope everybody's doing well.